You're watching a Mr. Goldspoon's presentation and training, starring celebrity entrepreneur and consultant Joseph Rodrigues. Today you'll learn how to flow to success in your business, relationships, and creative pursuits. Get amazing profits with Joseph Rodrigues, and follow him on YouTube.
How to flow your way to success. What I've done is I've taken a handful of quotes from Napoleon Hill and James Allen, and I want to discuss the concept of flow. On the way to creating the desired outcome, bringing forth success in your life, creating entrepreneurial success, if that's your area, we need to understand and value the concept of flow. Flow is where challenge meets skill. So you have various projects, you have various tasks, and you have various elements that you perform every single day, and it contributes to bringing forth what you desire, your definite chief aim. You could do these things from a place of force and frustration, or you could do this from a place of flow. Flow is, as defined here, a state of mind, otherwise known as being in the zone. It's a mental state in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoying the process of the activity. It is complete absorption in what one does, resulting in transformation of one's sense of time, and I will also add the ability to bring forth what you desire, the outcome, from a place of joy, bliss, and ease, because I remember reading somewhere that those that experience flow in the activities that they do leading to the destination or the desired outcome experience 10 times more productivity. One of the reasons why is that this is a high state of creativity. You'll find that if you experience flow state, you will tap into higher degrees of creativity. You'll be engaged in the process. You will be enjoying what you do. You will be rising up to the challenges that show up with new skills that you will acquire through creativity. Neurochemicals are also released in the brain when you are in flow. Dopamine, serotonin, anandamide, and endorphins, as well as the ideal state, which I always talk about, valuing the destination and the journey equally, seeing it as one. So flow is the key to allowing the journey to be as blissful as the destination. Now, many of us have experienced flow before. I would say everybody has experienced flow. The question is, do we experience flow on the day-to-day activities that we know we have to do, that we do every day, and how much flow do we experience? I challenged myself last year, and my goal was to bring forth a definite chief aim and link it to multiple areas of my life, and I call that definiteness of purpose. And I did a discussion on that. I'll put a link in the description. Linking your definite chief aim with your definiteness of purpose. And I set all this criteria of how I wanted to bring it forth. And I was able to bring forth my definite chief aim and also create success in multiple areas of my life to a higher degree last year. And one of my main criteria was to remain as much as I can in flow. And the reason why I did this decision, was upon reflection upon my life and my journey and the times that I was able to create success, I realized that there was two primary extremities. One was from a place of flow, and one from a place of force. Flow being aligned with a lot of the concepts that I talk about, power of mind, tapping into creativity and enjoying the journey and having faith that you will achieve the outcome. Force being reactive and forceful in the world of Caesar, as Neville puts it. Reactivity energy and being stressed out and frustrated. Both will contribute to success, except one is probably more ideal and joyous, and that is found in flow. So over here, and you might have seen this from one of the previous discussions that I did on Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, it's the elements of flow, 9 elements. Let's talk about these at a high level. I'll share with you my experiences, and I will also dimensionalize it with some quotes from Napoleon Hill and James Allen, quotes that I reflect upon on the journey. And Napoleon Hill being the author of one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, and also James Allen being an author of one of my favorite books, As a Man Thinketh. I listened to the audio version of As a Man Thinketh over and over again, and I find myself getting deeper levels of understanding to value the journey as much as the destination. I find that that book helps me a lot with whatever shows up. It allows me to tap into the understanding that my thoughts and the power is in the inner worlds. My thoughts create my reality. My beliefs create my reality. My assumptions create my reality. And I have the ability to identify on the journey subconscious mind programming that I could evolve as far as meaning within to allow myself to be more in flow so I can enjoy the tasks, the projects, and everything that I have to do and choose the things that bring me flow, knowing that there's many ways to get to the destination. As mentioned, you can get there by doing things that frustrate you and stress you out, or you could do things from a place of flow. You can flow your way to success. And James Allen helps me identify this, as well as the concepts in Think and Grow Rich, which I've been reading since 2004, and I will continue to read because every time I read it, upon creating success, I'm able to identify even more information that I didn't have awareness on as far as understanding to the degree that is realized after you have created success. That's why that book is really powerful. So here are the 9 elements. Let's go over these at a high level and get into detailed discussion. So first is a clear goal at an abstract and granular level. Number 2, there is immediate reporting and feedback. Number 3, there's a balance between challenges and skill. In other words, if something is too challenging, you might find it harder to achieve the flow state. What we want is a sweet spot where it's just above our skill level. Okay, tasks, projects, and you can break it down into sequence so you can find flow by setting up challenges that are a little bit higher, a certain ratio higher than your skill, realizing that when you encounter flow, when you get into flow state, you'll be able to rise up to the challenges by acquiring new skills real time. All right, so once you are achieving that ratio and maintaining it for a period of time, let's say 5 minutes or so, you will start to notice the next levels. Action and awareness become one. Okay, this is when you become really engaged in the process. You are submerged in the activity. You are in joy. You're in bliss. This is when the neurotransmitters are released, the neurochemicals, and you are really enjoying what you're doing. And number 5, distractions start to become excluded from consciousness. Now, in one of my previous videos, I talked about the concept of unwavering focus. And my theory is that you can create focus by revealing what is in your subconscious mind, releasing that programming, and creating meaning, beliefs, and assumptions that allows you to enjoy what you're doing, that allows you to find joy, bliss, and ease in the activities that are part of the realization of your definite chief aim. And as a result, you become more engaged automatically in what you're doing, and you have no desire or less desire for distractions, done from a place of real power in mind rather than force. Now, the way to practice this is by identifying on the journey the different elements that cause you to be reactive, or so it appears that the cause is in the outer world. It's not. It's in the inner world. It's the meaning we give to whatever shows up in the outer world, and we call this the world of Caesar, that may appear to make us reactive, but what we're really reacting to is our meaning within, beliefs and assumptions, usually from past programming, that we are assigning to that 5 sensory data. And we call that distraction. Now, when you place yourself in flow, you also reveal to yourself the different elements in your subconscious mind that are past meanings, assumptions, and beliefs, and you can write them down and change it using one of the subconscious mind modalities. And I'll put a link in the description where I discuss that, and that'll help you. And also, by being in flow, it's a state of being. Okay, flow is a state of mind, and it's a state of being where you will find you will automatically have less distractions. And if you stay in that state for extended periods of time, it'll become your normal state. And you will choose to honor that state because you will be receiving those chemical releases and you will enjoy being in that state. That's one of the things that I realized from being in flow most of the time last year as I was realizing my definite chief aim. I found myself then wanting to get back into flow, honoring my flow. And if I found myself doing activities or involved with certain tasks that were breaking flow, I would either find flow in those tasks using the process, or I would do something else that would contribute to my definite chief aim. Many of you know one of my favorite concepts is the ikigai, the Japanese art of finding purpose and meaning. And the concept goes, there's 4 elements: doing what you love to do, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Now, I always ask myself with any project or anything that I do, does it fall within the criteria of something that will bring me into flow and honor my flow? Is it something that is what I'm really passionate about? Is it what I love to do? Is it what I'm good at and I can continue to build? As discussed here, flow is where challenge meets skill, so I've already have the skill and I want to rise up to higher levels of skill. Is it something that is related to my definite chief aim? So if you're an entrepreneur, is it something that creates a product or service that's needed and useful? So it's reciprocated in a form of value, money, or whatever form of value you want received back. And is it something that the world needs? Is it something that adds meaning and purpose in your life? You can create whatever criteria you'd like, and it's important to understand the criteria that you like, because these are going to be the criteria elements that is going to allow you to find your flow, get into flow, and honor your flow. And as mentioned, when a person is in flow, they're far more productive, they're far more engaged, they enjoy the journey and the destination, see it as one. And if this is something that you desire, then this is the process that can help you. Now, fear of failure also tapers away, and fears taper away. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do you release fear? Well, you identify what's in your subconscious mind, what is the meaning, the beliefs and assumptions you are identifying to a thought in the mind or an outer world, people, environment, circumstance, or information, and you change that programming within using one of the modalities. Another way is by being in flow. Okay, by being in flow, the fear of failure automatically tapers away because you're in a certain state of mind that is engaged in what you're doing and rising up to higher levels of challenge, and fear cannot exist in it. Self-consciousness disappears. You experience a distortion of time. Many moments last year, many periods of time when I was very engaged in what I was doing, I completely lost a sense of time. Hours felt like it was like 10 or 15 minutes. Now, I was so engaged in what I was doing, and I was enjoying what I was doing, and the results, the productivity was really high, but there was this distortion of time. And I did notice also that I was producing far more output, far more yield in a period of time that would have taken me 4 or 5 times longer had I had not been in flow. The reason why is because being in flow state taps into higher levels of creativity as well. That's another thing you're going to find. And imagination and creativity is what we want to work with so that we can accelerate our results, and flow can help us get there. And then finally, number 9, the activity and the person becomes autotelic. Okay, reality becomes one. Everything is one. Now, one of my favorite concepts when I discuss the Neville information is that we are all individual expressions of the same mind. It may sound like a very esoteric concept, but as we continue on this journey, as we bring forth our definite chief aim, as we evolve our consciousness, we start to understand that more and more. And we see not just people, but everything as one. And when you're in flow state, you're going to really understand what this means. Okay? Next time when you're in flow state, pause for a moment and reflect upon this. Number 9, the activity in the person becomes autotelic. See yourself connected with the universe, with what you're doing, with people. You'll understand it more. And in order to really unlock this information involving the mind that we've talked about, it's important to place yourself in flow state, because information is understood differently in different states of mind. That's one of the reasons why when you're in flow, what you're working on will appear differently. You will have a higher degree of ability to rise up with skill because you will look at it from a different perspective. Why? Because distractions are excluded out of consciousness and fear is excluded out of consciousness. Distractions and fear distort our ability. It's essentially a smokescreen that prevents us from seeing things the way they really are in relation to bringing forth our definite chief aim. So now that we've discussed this at a high level, let's get a little detailed. So number 1, clear goals at an abstract and granular level. Napoleon Hill says, any definite chief aim that is deliberately fixed in the mind and held there with the determination to realize it finally saturates the entire subconscious mind until it automatically influences the physical action of the body towards the attainment of that purpose. See, what he's talking about here is flow. So we do what we do to impress the subconscious mind and program our subconscious mind. And another thing that we find to be really helpful on this journey, as I have, is honoring my flow. Now, when you impress the subconscious mind, the behaviors, the thoughts, and the emotions are in alignment more and more so, and they flow from you. So you'll find yourself at a higher degree of flow state. Now, when you're referring back to clear goals, it's important to then set a definite chief aim or a desired outcome. What I also find really valuable is to link it to definiteness of purpose. And this means to link your definite chief aim to all multiple areas of your life that are important to you, such as career, financial, spiritual, physical, intellectual, family, and social, or the ones that are important to you personally. The reason why is because, my favorite saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you're able to see the cross-reference of all areas of your life as contributing factors to your definite chief aim, and your definite chief aim to be a contributing factor to all areas of life, you'll find yourself able to achieve flow in multiple areas of your life. You'll find flow in your social interactions. When dealing in the spiritual realm, in the physical realm, when you're at the gym, you'll find flow. When you're learning intellectually, you'll find flow. When you're evolving your career, learning the different capabilities and skills, you'll find flow. Because you realize that it's all contributing towards your definite chief aim. You have a very powerful why, which otherwise Napoleon Hill calls the burning desire. Now, James Allen says, a man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time. Whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. So set a definite chief aim, and as a result of, let's use the entrepreneurial space, because that's my favorite space to discuss all these concepts from. Well, if you're aspiring to be an entrepreneur, or you're on the entrepreneurial journey, or you're building and growing as an entrepreneur, well, then you have different projects and tasks that you have to do every day. It is possible to find flow in each of these projects and each of these tasks. If it's really challenging for you to find flow in your projects and tasks, then perhaps they're not the right tasks for you. It's important to take inventory and recognize that flow is a major contributing factor for creating success in entrepreneurship. I know I speak from experience on this. The times when I made the most accelerated growth were when I was in flow, when I experienced flow. The times when I made a lot of busy work in my life, masquerading an accomplishment, were times when I was not in flow. And usually it was doing something I didn't like to do. So it's important then to do the things that you love to do, that you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Paid for being the return being money or whatever return you get in collaboration with others that you work with. So if you are not in the entrepreneurial space, then practice flow with any kind of task that you have within your awareness that you can apply this concept to. It could be doing something like doing the dishes, or your workout, or your painting of your house, or a creative task. Whatever it is, you are able to find flow in it. If you train yourself to find flow, it'll be easier for you to automatically find flow in other areas of your life. Bringing awareness on this process helps us. Number 2, there's immediate reporting and feedback. So you got a goal. Let's use the example of working on a project. You take a project, and your goal is to see it all the way till completion. You have 2 hours to work on this project. While you're working on this project, you realize that it's contributing to all areas of your life. You see the connections. You are inspired by it. You have a burning desire to achieve it. You have a definiteness of purpose, and that is the starting point for flow. Then, as you perform the tasks, you get immediate reporting and feedback. You're going to experience perhaps some challenges. Now, what I like to do is set qualitative and quantitative key performance indicators. Now, qualitative key performance indicators are how I feel. Essentially, I'm gauging myself to ensure that I'm getting into flow and maintaining flow. That would be qualitative. Quantitative is you could set some metrics. You can set some performance metrics. You can say Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes, I'm going to work on this task, and then a 5-minute break. 25 minutes, another task, 5-minute break on the same project. Or you could say, I'm going to complete 20% of the project, or whatever it is, measurable, that will allow you to receive reports and feedback immediately based on what you're doing, so you know you're making progress. If you're in sales, you could say, the goal is to make 5 prospecting calls. And I know that I'm being successful when I'm moving from one call to the next call, whatever it is for you. Then it's important to realize that one of the elements that breaks flow is reactivity. Watch the video I did on letting go of the world of Caesar, which I discussed Neville's concept, in which he refers to the world of Caesar as any 5 sensory data-based elements that may cause you to have fears, doubts, and indecision, or be reactive. What are these elements that you experience as reactivity? Understand that the programming is within you, and it's being externalized as that element, and you can change that programming within. Thus, noting what comes up is also immediate reporting and feedback, and that will bring you into flow. Now, the inner voice is the concept that I refer to as a guiding mechanism into flow, because, as mentioned to you, there's many things that I do to bring myself in flow that are different for other people. So I always want to know what is unique for me. And I listen to my inner voice, and I trust my own inner voice. Now, when you are engaged in the process, you'll notice you'll have a deeper connection with your inner voice, and that's presented in your imagination or a inner dialogue or hunches and inspirations that show up. And you'll start to receive that more when you get into flow. So we start off with a definite purpose, a series of tasks, we involve ourselves with it, we get started with it, and we start to notice these things that are showing up. Now, James Allen says, victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give way to success when it's assured and rapidly fall back into failure. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are a result of definitely directed thought and are governed by the same law and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of its attainment. So what you're really looking at here is your thinking. What is your thinking? What are your thoughts, emotions, and actions when you involve yourself in this task? Now, when you're involved with different activities, such as physical activities, because it's, those that find flow in, let's say when you play sports, I'm probably not going to apply all these same concepts that I'm talking about here. I speak more to the entrepreneurial realm. It's important to understand that you're still going to feel the either reactivity or proactivity. So you want to note these things down and remember these things, because as you write them down, you can evolve the programming within, so you can then not have as much reactivity or less reactivity. You also can look at any other reporting metrics that you have, how you feel, as mentioned, or how your performance is, based on past observation of your performance before. But it is going to be a result of your thinking. So it's important then to keep your thoughts on what you're doing, maintain focus on what you're doing, and observe the kind of response you get from the outer world and adjust accordingly. Now, as you do this, you'll start to notice that you are overcoming the challenges that presents itself. And there's going to be various challenges. Always remember that what we're doing is we're evolving the beliefs and assumptions within. We have past beliefs and assumptions that creates our reality. And we want to identify what these beliefs are and assumptions we're having about the task at hand and evolve them real time, or we can note them down to evolve later on using one of the subconscious mind modalities. Presence of mind becomes more apparent. In other words, you're engaged in this process, so it'll be easier. And that's what we want to ensure that we're doing, maintaining presence of mind. Next, intuition and mind become one. So the inner voice and the creative mind tend to work together. And so our inner voice guides us into higher levels of flow based on the way we interpret what shows up via the voice within. And it is within where we uncover the skills to overcome the challenges that show up. Subconscious mind programs are also revealed on the journey. These are the different assumptions and beliefs and elements that may be experienced as reactivity that are a result of past programming within. James Allen says, thought aligned fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. So what we're doing is we are allowing ourselves to be more concentrated in our thoughts. Now, this flow process happens very fluidly. Okay, maybe you're not going to be reflecting upon all I'm saying right now, or even a small percentage of this in the process. You reflect upon it after. So you get into flow, you apply what you learn here, and then after you've done your project or your task, you can reflect back to what has been discussed and see how you can evolve it. So as an entrepreneur, you'll find yourself in flow when you apply the QQS formula from Napoleon Hill, which is quality of service, quantity of service, and spirit of service. This will bring you into a higher level of engagement to what you're doing, because not only are you moving towards a definite chief aim, you are in part completing the project related to the definite chief aim, you are linking it to definiteness of purpose, and you are linking it to areas of growth that are going to contribute to success, as in whatever you do, you apply to a higher degree of quality, quantity of output or yield of output, and the spirit, as in the mental attitude that you have towards what you're doing. If you don't feel like doing what you're doing, it'll be harder to find flow. If it's not what you're meant to do, you'll find it harder to find flow. You can always use the QQS formula to identify if what you're doing is something that will bring you in flow, or how you can go back and optimize what you're doing so you can maintain that flow. So let's look at these. He says, quality of service shall be construed to mean the performance of every detail in connection with your position in the most efficient manner possible, with the object of greater efficiency always in mind. Why? Because if you look at it from this perspective, when challenges show up, you'll ask yourself, how can I do this better next time? So flow is something that you get into and evaluate afterwards. Look at how you had achieved flow, how were you performing in that activity when you were in flow, and reflect upon to find yourself into higher degrees of flow more often by evaluating yourself based on QQS. Next is quantity. Quantity of service shall be understood to mean the habit of rendering all the service of which you are capable of at all times, with the purpose of increasing the amount of service rendered as greater skill is developed through practice and experience. Emphasis again is placed on the word habit. So, the idea is that flow will become a habit. Flow is not only something that makes you feel good because you get the chemical releases, the neurotransmitters, you also will get a higher degree of results because your creativity will be at a higher level and your productivity will be at a higher level. And as a result of this, being able to create that is based on the skills that you cultivate when you're in flow. So you get a faster and higher development of skill when you're in flow. And then finally, spirit of service, which is, you could say, the essence of flow. Spirit of service shall be construed to mean the habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct which will induce cooperation from associates and fellow employees. Now, if you're working with people and you're dealing with others, you can find flow together. If you're with yourself, then you can take what he is saying and apply it to being in spirit of harmony and full engagement and enjoying the process of what you're doing by seeing it as valuable as the destination. When you first realize that the journey is as valuable as the destination, you stimulate your subconscious mind to find more assumptions and beliefs that prove it to be so. And you're going to find more ways that you will engage yourself in the process of the different projects and tasks that you're doing. And this can show up in various different ways. But one of my favorite ways is to link it over to my definite chief aim, to realize that what I'm doing is a contributing factor to my definite chief aim, And then my definite chief aim is contributing to all other areas of my life, and this creates multiple reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this brings me further into flow because I have meaning. Next, actions and awareness become one. Calmness of mind, James Allen said, is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is a result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. So all of this right here is a way of thinking. These are conceptual models, ways of thinking that are designed to help you find your flow, facilitate your flow, and remain in flow. Now, whatever it is that you choose to apply, what you'll notice is that when you're in a flow state, action and awareness become one. And so you're not thinking as much. You are subconsciously expressing. You are subconsciously expressing your skills. And as challenges show up, you're able to subconsciously rise up to a higher level of skill to overcome the challenge. And always remember this quote from James Allen: "The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do." What you will find is that flow will allow you to tap into abilities that you never saw possible within yourself the more you find yourself in flow. This is also a way you develop a higher level of self-esteem and self-confidence. We have within us greatness and the ability to express that greatness. We a lot of times don't set ourselves up in the state of mind to be able to express that greatness. We first believe that we have this within us and we can do it. And as a result of taking that frame of mind into the various projects and tasks and into flow, we tap into the greater creative abilities to rise up to whatever challenge is presented while we're in flow. And when you develop the skill and rise up to the challenge and you overcome it, you feel even better. You feel even higher degrees of flow, and you've now acquired that skill that you could use next time when you encounter whatever challenge that shows up, a lot of times making you less reactive to the outer world, which we call the world of Caesar. Next, distractions are excluded from consciousness. James Allen says, "Circumstance do not make the man, they reveal himself." They reveal him. Now, the idea behind this is that as you are going about doing what you're doing, there are different elements that show up that you can note down or real time, in the moment, overcome with higher levels of skill. And what I like to do is note the different elements that cause me to be, or appear to cause me to be distracted or reactive, because the cause is really within. And by changing the subconscious mind programming, I help facilitate a higher degree of flow state, because I've changed my assumptions and beliefs within as a result of the data that shows up. So whatever circumstances or challenges show up while you're in flow, see them as opportunities to evolve the programming within. Napoleon Hill says it really well: develop success consciousness and let your subconscious do the work. Now, two ways I find to develop subconscious, or I should say success consciousness. Number one is through subconscious mind affirmations or subconscious mind reprogramming, or imaginal acts, the different elements that Neville talks about. Another way of doing it is by being in flow. Because when you're in flow, you rise up to higher levels of skill through the various challenges that show up, because you're in a state of mind that is well equipped to overcome those challenges, because your actions and awareness are one, distractions or things that might have caused you to be reactive, or as mentioned, the cause is really within, you're giving it the meaning that you are getting reactive or distracted, gets excluded out of consciousness automatically. You don't even have to think about this. But if things do come up, you can note it, so you can facilitate a better level of flow, a deeper level of flow, or longer duration of flow, or more flow, future projects or future tasks in different areas of your life. Now, this result of being in the state of flow for an extended period of time will give you the confidence and faith as you rise above each challenge and develop new skill that you can create success to a higher degree, so self-confidence will go up. And as a result of your self-confidence and faith going up, your subconscious will express accordingly. So as James Allen said, the will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. And the knowledge that we can do, first of all, the can do is within the consciousness, in the success consciousness. The knowledge will be found on the journey of being in flow, real time, while you're in flow. And your subconscious will do the work. It will be more of an automatic expression of thoughts, emotions, and actions. Now, while this is happening, and you go into deeper states of flow, fear of failure also tapers away. One of the things that can appear to cause us to break flow is indecision. Now, there's many modalities to help us decide, many different tools and resources that I've shared over the course of the videos to become a better decision maker. But one of the best ways to facilitate better decision making and overcoming indecision is by honoring your flow, by being in flow for extended periods of time. This is because you subconsciously come up with some patterning within that a lot of times you might not be able to articulate, that are your inner voice, inner world-based concepts, otherwise we call this sixth sense, that will help you decide via your intuition. Now, Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich, indecision is the seedling of fear. Remember this as you read. Indecision crystallizes into doubt. The two blend and become fear. The blending process is often slow. This is one reason why these three enemies are so dangerous. They germinate and grow without their presence being observed. So being in flow for extended periods of time helps us overcome indecision. By honoring flow, we stay in the state of mind where decision-making becomes an autotelic, subconscious process that is in alignment with our definite chief aim at the task of hand, rising up to higher levels of skill and ability to make decision by remaining in that state. So again, there's two ways. Number one is to identify what you experience as indecision, as programming within, and change the programming within using subconscious mind modalities. Or real time, when you experience flow, you will automatically have less fear. And Napoleon Hill talks about the 6 basic fears. So Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in flow says fear of failure tapers away, so you're more confident and engaged in what you're doing. And what I'll find is even the other 6 basic fears that Napoleon Hill talks about also disappear. So there's 2 ways of going about this. We can change these individually, or we can be and represent the flow, be in flow, and these fear elements will automatically go away. And as they go away, you are also reprogramming your subconscious mind to remain decisive and have less reactivity to the fear. And that includes fear of poverty, fear of loss of someone, fear of death, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, and fear of old age. Now, reflect back on your own personal experience. You probably, when you are in flow, most likely, did not think about these areas when you're in flow. The times when you did think about fear of poverty or death or criticism, when you are not in flow. That's why being in flow is so important, because not only do you get the productivity and the results, you also reprogram your subconscious mind and you reprogram the physiological elements that facilitate flow as well, the behaviors and so forth, the neurology. So number 7, self-consciousness disappears. So one of our goals in life is to release the reactivity that is caused by the ego within. Less identification with the ego and more identification with the higher self. Spirit of harmony, benefit for us, benefit for others, benefit for divine, which is a state of mind. It's called unconditional love. So when self-consciousness disappears, we are starting to experience unconditional love. Now, it might be geared towards the tasks that we're doing, but as discussed, being in flow for extended periods of time reprograms the mind to how you do one thing is how you do everything, especially when you realize that your definite chief aim is related to multiple areas of your life via definiteness of purpose, and your multiple areas of your life is also related to your definite chief aim. So in flow, a person is challenged to do their best, and they must constantly improve their skills, which happens automatically in the process. At the time, they don't have the opportunity to reflect on what this means in terms of self. If they did allow themselves to become self-conscious, if they did it, an experience could not be very deep. So in public speaking, you'll notice this, or in social interactions when you're in the flow, when you are working on a project, or when you are involved in anything where you're deeply submerged, you don't have time to think about your fears, your doubts, your indecisions, your insecurities, you automatically perform, and you subconsciously and consciously see yourself performing at that level. And that programming rewrites the self-image that's in the subconscious mind to be more in alignment with the higher self. Now, another thing that happens is distortion of time. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how long does it take to create success? And the answer is, it depends. And one of the determining factors is your interpretation of, or your beliefs and assumptions on how long it will take to create success. And one of the ways to blow past the assumptions and beliefs that it's going to take longer based on, what other people tell you and so forth, is to affirm it into your subconscious mind, is to believe it that you'll have it in a shorter span of time and watch it externalize. Another way of doing it is to be in flow, because you'll find that while you're in flow, you're able to get to the end result a lot faster. And this will increase your confidence in faith and the bindingness to time. In other words, you might assume that it takes a certain amount of time to create success, and that assumption can limit you. And as a result of creating that over and over again, the end result within a certain span of time, you might form a rigid belief that you identify with physically, mentally, emotionally. And this belief can be released while you're in flow. James Allen says, "The circumstance grow out of thought every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification." I see self-control and self-purification related to flow, by the way. That's why I'm putting this in here. "For he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances has been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition." Okay, altered mental condition, the altered state of flow, is externalized in the outer world as circumstance, and you can see the cross-reference. "So true is this, that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character," which by the way happens in flow, "and makes swift and marked progress," which also happens in flow, "he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes." Now, what this means is that by finding flow, honoring flow, being in flow, you evolve yourself, and we release ourselves from the biases that's going to take a certain amount of time to achieve the solution. What I have found is that there have been many challenging areas of my life in which I believed and assumed it was going to take an extended period of time, but by rather saying, all I'm going to do is find flow and maintain my flow, I was able to achieve the outcome faster. And then finally, the activity and person becomes autotelic. You see everything and you live everything as one in the moment when you're in flow state. But always remember that you can stay in flow state for extended periods of time. And upon reflection last year, 90% of my time last year, I was maintaining flow state. And I felt a deep oneness and connection with not only what I was doing, but my definite chief aim, my definiteness of purpose, all areas of my life, and a deeper level of understanding of the concept that Neville talks about, that everyone is you pushed out. We are individual expressions of the same mind. The oneness is found in the activity in flow. And as you maintain that flow, that programming of experience impresses itself on the subconscious mind and makes itself a default way of being and navigating reality, seeing everything as one. The key element of an optimal experience is that it is an end in itself. So in other words, the journey is as valuable as the destination. We are all individual expressions of the same mind. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world. All of these concepts make even more sense when you're in this state. Even if initially undertaken for other reasons, the activity that consumes us becomes intrinsically rewarding. We tap into higher levels of spirituality. We understand our higher self and the nature of the universe to a higher degree. The traits that mark an autotelic personality are most clearly revealed by the people who seem to enjoy situations that ordinary persons would find unbearable. Now, if you take the concepts here and you apply it, make a commitment to yourself that you're going to apply this, find your flow, keep your flow, and then reflect back on the video, come back to it, more and more information is going to stand out to you. And when you take it and apply it, and even watch the other video that I did on Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, you're going to find that you're going to handle situations from a place of flow that at one point you would consider chaos. because you develop a higher level of skill. And this is why, when I reflect back on my journey, when I look at the different circumstances and the complexities that I have to deal with now, I'm able to find flow in it and maintain flow. And if I had the same level of circumstances and complexity, let's say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have been very stressed out and overwhelmed by it and frustrated. Now, the higher the degree of success, the greater the ability to subconsciously deal with complexity. Okay, subconsciously deal with complexity. This happens in the background, in subconscious programming. And flow helps facilitate this. Napoleon Hill says, set your mind on a definite goal and observe how quickly the world stands aside to let you pass. Now, this is very interesting. Success is created by your thoughts, your emotional response, and your ability to be proactive about it, or lack of ability, reactivity, which maybe facilitates more fear, doubts, and indecision, and your ability to overcome that, and your actions and your behaviors, which is done in flow, as well as your faith and confidence that there's a concept called infinite intelligence that exists. Things will happen beyond your understanding, and you will find a lot of this happening while you're in flow. So thoughts, emotions, and actions contribute to your success. And there are forces that go beyond these elements that also aid you when you are in flow. So set your mind on a definite goal, maintain flow, and you will see the different elements unfold themselves as they contribute towards your definite chief aim and the realization of it. If you want a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.